Our next presentation is the 2023 Canadian Wildfires. Dustin Mueller works in the Lassen National Forest for the U.S. Forest Service as a Deputy Forest Fire Chief for Operations. Serves as a Type 1 Incident Commander on Team 5. Previously was the Deputy Incident Commander on Team 5, and before that, Type 2 IC on California Team 16. Dustin.
Thank you, Chief. All right, well, thanks to the board for inviting me up here, or down here. As you guys know, I'm probably from Northern California. Don't come down too much, just during the times when you guys lead Type 1 team, or now also known as the Complex Incident Management Team. Still, you can take questions about that later. Because I don't really know. Maybe a director can help out. So what I'm going to talk a little bit about is, it'll probably be fairly quickly because we didn't take a lot of pictures, but there are some tactics and strategies and the differences in fighting fire in the United States, and especially the differences between California and Canada. So I'm going to lead you through this, but kind of telling the story how it worked out is, this is mostly Forest Service centric. We were up at one of our chiefs meeting in South Lake Tahoe with all the forest supervisors, all the fire chiefs and deputies, and we got this call through South Ops that they needed assistance from California. So South Ops was going to mobilize a Type 1 team, and it was like a couple guys I think most of you guys know, like Rocky Oplinger and Jerry McGowan and myself and Mickey, Johnny, kind of put our heads together and see who was available to go. And so we knew Rocky and Jerry couldn't necessarily go, because they had to be current going employees. So I said I was available, but I didn't want my team to be out of the national rotation for this, because our teams are much larger than what Canada was requesting. So we negotiated. I think Matt negotiated back with up there in Boise, Nick, but we alleviated that. So kind of put a short team together, which was kind of weird. We're normally against that here in California, because short teams don't let it work for our fires, as you guys know. We need more people than we ever met. So, team constraints. We were given the opportunity. They kind of dictated to us what we were allowed to bring by a mobilization guide, probably from the 80s. So I was allowed to bring one ops chief, one plans chief, a finance section chief, a safety officer, and then a couple rados, and their ops branch director. That was it. Going into this environment, and we were watching the news a little bit, so we kind of knew what was going on. There's a political uprising, two parties, kind of like what's going on down here. A lot of fires were fighting. One party was lighting fires to get more money. One party was trying to put more firefighters out there in order to fire. What it ended up was a lot of their people in Alberta were quitting. Low pay, kind of like what we're dealing with here in the U.S. Forest Service. So number of positions, those constrained. Agency constraints, we were probably I think we were the second team out of the chute in the nation, so we were kind of learning as we went. We ended up going with three, a Southeast team, a Northern Rockies team, and ourselves. So, and they had the agency employees, so that was another thing for California, is most of our 10 teams here in California, 60% on average, is mostly local government, and thank you guys. So that is a big constraint to us. So I had to assemble a team, because I didn't have most of my team is local government. That's what I like. So I had to find some people and they're on the key positions, and so we kind of, all the 4 ICs, Type 1 ICs in California, we put our heads together and kind of like see who could go, who had a past work, who wasn't a drunk, didn't have a DUI. That was another constraint. So it was pretty hard to do.
Unable to fill.
We were doing this all in South Lake Tahoe as we were conversing with you guys are doing these past 2 days. So I was like, well, I better not drive right now, so I'll just sit still, and I don't want to get you out the So yeah, and then also translation, because they let us bring rados. Does anybody know what rado is? It's like a entry level firefighter position that could, supposed to be able to talk on a radio and get good understanding. So that's just like, we don't even carry them on our teams, which you someone that'll come into play there. So this is a picture of when we kind of the second day, but when we're standing around waiting to see what kind of a fire center we're going to get. So mobilization considerations, another step in the process is computers and mobile devices. So going out of the country, we have to get all our stuff passed through the State Department. So, anything dealing with Washington, D.C. is pretty time-consuming and cumbersome, especially we're trying to do this on a Sunday. And so getting our regional forester to approve travel, authorization for flight, all that stuff was in consideration. So it really took, especially for South Ops and or North Ops, we've never done it, so it was a really, we were just flying with no wings. Travel equipment, what do we bring? Do they have things up there? Do they have stores? Do we bring printers? Like I said, what was going to be the expectations? I had no ability to contact their agency administrators up there or who I was working for because they don't do it like we do down here. They just kind of, which I'll get in the next slide, is a draft. They can like pick a fire and you just go out in the middle of nowhere and expect to meet the locals. Accountability was another one for me because I think probably 75% of the team was from my team, so they knew my expectations. But all the lower level positions, air ops branch, rados, the finance section chief wasn't from my team. So the accountability of getting us all into one airport, flying into one airport was pretty hard on Sunday afternoon, make sure we all had the same flights and in briefing time. So Canada is operated in the province, kind of like state government we have in the United States. So every province does it different. They have one central command, and I say command with loose intention, I read. CIFC, they call it, Canada Interagency Fire Centers, which is like NIFC up there in Boise. But they have no operational control over the provinces. So we were doing an in-briefing time, we were to report to Alberta, to this government office at so-and-so time. And then CIFC, which is the Canadian Fire Center, is working with NIFC down in Boise. The expectations, what could we expect, but they really don't have any helpful hints for us. We did have a couple agency reps up there from the Northern Rockies that were helping us out. I was getting some kind of intel. But, so anyways, we fly in, we get there, typical Canadian fashion, they have ice chest full of beer, buffet, kind of like in here, buffet tables. So 3 teams meet, bunch of single resource positions like heavy equipment bosses, air ops people, helicopter bosses. They call them a bunch of different things up there. So then the next morning we're expected to be at this in-country briefing. It's kind of like if you guys ever went through the L courses, L380 through 580. It's the same kind of scenario where you get this in-country briefing and you eat breakfast and then all these foreigners come in and start trying to give you information by PowerPoint. Whether fuels, I had a local from down here, actually, Andrew, that helped me with the fuels up there. He actually studied it a little bit. So yeah, it's the draft. We call it the draft. And it's basically what fire you're going to get, the complexities of that fire. Multiple fires. So Alberta's pretty much, at this point, was a nation. Whole province was on fire. So if there's just, like you're driving on the road and there's just fire just going across the freeway, nobody knows. It's kind of chaotic. What are we doing? So we got our fire, and we were sent to Peace River Forest, which was quite a ways with Edmonton. But we made a Walmart stop. They had a Walmart. They only give us 5 vehicles for our team, and they're like 2-wheel drives, minivans, or cars, or trucks. So we try to pile in as much equipment as we can. We don't know where we're going. The mosquito repellent, we just don't know. They still haven't given us a real good brief, like what fire we're going to get. So we get to this other Peace River Forest office, which is a big government building like you would expect. I get pulled into some meeting, and then so the first picture when mobilizing the team, they're all sitting outside, like, wondering what the heck they're going to be doing. No, I still love it at this point. So it's very weird. Agency administrators, government officials. So similar to here, agency administrators, like their lead forester for the unit. It just so happens to be that we hit it off. He was a game warden previously for the province, and he liked to hunt and fish. And his main objective to me, his expectation right out the bat was to say his trap line. And a trap line for furs. He's a big fella. I still communicate with him actually a little bit too. Yeah, no, he was a hockey player. So typical Canadian. He was like strong and big, and a little intimidating, especially for me. I'm a big guy myself. All right, so firefighting. You know, there's so many. That's what I was doing this morning, is changing the pictures and for the PowerPoint, because I planned to Chris Bryan over here put it together, and it's a little dark. So I was just trying to lighten it up because I noticed from the previous presentations for the last couple of days it's kind of dark. So on the left, you can see most of these are wind-driven fires. Fuel types are primarily black spruce fuel type with a little bit of brush, but not a lot. So these are, and then also I'm pointing out these certain lines in this. This is thick forest, right? But then these water sources, right? See these lines? On a couple of them, there's lines, and those are gas lines. So their primary threat there is gas and oil. That's what they want to protect. The timber, they don't really care about. So here's some of the equipment. These are the crew halls, they call them. There's some other names, but they do have tanks on them. So they just kind of move personnel, equipment, hose, pumps along the fire line. And everything is done by aircraft. So the expectation, most of you guys are on team, the part of teams, the divisions, ops branch, or section chiefs. The expectation we got was the ops chief is supposed to be in the air all day long. Just for P rigs, he'd come down and just do that. So, and then our division supervisors, because these fires are so big, division supervisors just fly around and they start all day. That's all they do. And they're just directing traffic. Another odd thing, which I'll get into a little bit in tactics, is so line construction. Everything's done with dozers or helicopters. Helicopters freelance, they're Canadian pilots, they just dump on wherever they think they can dump on. Dozers, there's actually a dozer boss that flies in a helicopter as well. He gets his own helicopter, he just directs all the tactical operations in the ground. So that is really different than what we do, right? So if you're a desert boss, you need to go if you can fly the whole time. But for this, so the reason I put this picture in here, the line, is this all water. Everything basically, when you pull off the top layer, the water starts to come to the ground. So what they've learned is if they do one dozer blade, two dozer blades, the dozers sink as they're constructing hand line or fire line. So what they come up with a new method is putting 3 dozers in a row, like D5, D6 type 2s. And what it does is it displaces the water towards the edge, almost like a wave, and they don't sink, so they have to run in 3s. For me, very strange. But being in the equipment background myself, I understood it, at least the physics of it. But they just peel up this stuff. And then the other thing is, as they're going along, they run an excavator, could be the third piece, like a big, the big backhoe type excavators with the long things. And they dig holes, roughly 12, 15 foot. And then the hand crews march along. We had a lot of hotshot crews with us, and then also their local crews. They come in those trucks that I'll show you, these ones. Hotshot crews and fire tank crews, and they come along, plumb that dozer line, and then overnight, those big holes they dig fills up with water. There's water source, so they throw them out. But that's how they do their hose lays. So their hand crews do their hose lays. They don't really have engine crews. There's some of the local government municipalities do, but they're not as staffed. They're mostly staffed by volunteers. So just kind of strange, especially for the California ops chiefs and division supervisors I had. So we all have to learn this. Here's another key thing. You guys see this line in the middle of the forest? So these are still 20, 30-foot trees, black spruce. But these lines are everywhere. They're just gas lines. And it's pretty crazy. Some other key things, that's hindered our firefighting is, see this right here? This is a typical day what had happened. This is 3 days after it rained too much too. And so was this. So the wind. But these are our crews coming back in from shift, and it's still daylight. That's about taking about 5 o'clock in the afternoon, I believe. Alberta only lets you work 12-hour shifts, and they don't do night shifts. They make all the researchers come back to camp and watch the fire explode. The other thing is a lot of the roads out there are you'll stick all these vehicles, so they build a rain planks with excavators, and there's no road as they go.
Nice.
You know how they'll just build road, those on, and they'll put these big planks down, and you can drive them.
You see that? Wow.
Another thing is, like I said, resource protection. They don't really care about the trees. Just kind of see the fuel type, kind of similar to Alaska or what you would think. But here are types of oil and gas type of areas that need to be protected, and this is the Canadian history. So that was my main task, is protect this weird stuff. So there's also there's a gas called that would smell like rotten eggs. That
Thank you.
what's that? Sulfur. It was sulfur type of gas, and it was supposed to kill you.
Sulfide gas.
That's what it was. I read about it. So then they wanted us to go out and protect these areas that had that smell. So if they say, if you smell rotten eggs in the forest, you just get away.
I'm excited about that.
All right, we'll talk a little bit of logistics. So I took this picture flying back into camp. You can see the road we built. By the way, the Canadians take care of you as a team. It's nothing like, set full of fire camps. Garbage. This is the command post.
Pretty.
So what it is the main interior of this building right here is a comm center, which is full dispatch capability with CAD and flex following.
That being said,
I'll get to the point with the radios in a minute. And one side is where the communication operators sleep for 24 hours. And then the other side is mine. They give me my own room, which was nice, shower, toilet, full service office, and it's just how they do it. So all these trailers are contracted from oil fields as well. So as you see, you come in these roads, this is like the meeting rooms for all the section chiefs, and different, kind of like our we do trailer road. And then this is the big full service kitchen that could feed up to 200 people. Most people we had in this camp, I think, reached about 200, 280. We had to bring in that extra kitchen actually, because they don't have people like, I used to fight fires out here, lake fire, or like 3,000 to 4,000. You never know, so maybe they mosquito fire, they just have tons of people. Compared up here, they just don't do it. So once again, they have to build platforms, can't walk in the grass, you'll be flat. So logistics is huge. And they only let me bring one box, or two, base camp manager and a box. This is another picture of morning briefing. So I think this is Seth Mitchell giving I think a lot of you guys know him, giving the fire brigade your forecast. This is the place, like I showed you, trailers. Notice this guy's boots. This is typical. This is what a Canadian firefighter right here looks like. Highly visible, dirty, with rubber boots on. Very strange. Because then they expect you to go out there and use chainsaws. Then they wouldn't repay our Ochak crews for their boots that they had by. So more about planning. This is Chief Fryer, plans chief, and we're briefing, kind of doing a CNG type meeting. I tasked Chris with putting a cool IEP cover daily. So they have a beaver instead of smoking up there. It's a beaver. We did all kinds of crazy stuff, and the locals appreciate the plan that we actually put together daily. So there's another thing, transitioning. We did our thing, and fire behavior up and down. It rained. With good times. It really wasn't that complex. Tribes, First Nation type things, they call them up there. Similar to the United States, so we had a lot of meetings with them. They don't call them reservations. So, but it's similar to like politics with is it recognized or not. So we had a lot of those good meetings, and it rained, and our fire wasn't doing a lot, but we still were going to time out. And at the time, we couldn't figure out if they were going to extend or what was happening because this was still at the end of May. So they brought in a team from Australia to transition with us. So that was a unique experience. If anybody's been through a team transition, transitioning with a team that is from Australia. I'll note also, when I was briefing firefighters here, we had 4 different nations represented. We had New Zealand, Australia, the cane crews, Mexico cane crews, and then American cane crews. And it's very unique. We have translators, obviously, for some of those, but we got through it. Sure. Just some things to think about if you do international fire response. I wish I was Rob translator. The Australians were great. As expected, you guys all hear this. Probably some people have been in Australia fighting fire. They're as advertised. They get after it, and they like to have a good time. So they didn't bring any beer, but they did ask about where it was. From America, we're not allowed to drink on the spot, so they were disappointed. But we did a lot of team trading stuff, between the 2 teams. We had a really good time. So it took about 2 days to transition with the team from Australia. So we were released. We went through, the demobilization, which is similar to here. I went and asked for a agency write-up on this, how I did, how the team did for and they wanted us back. They actually called and tried to get us back to go again. Said, we're getting busy down here. But they did let us go a day early because we did transition early. We just had such a good time with the Australians that they let us go a day early, which I took the team, we gathered and went to Jasper National Park, which is in the Canadian Rockies. It was a great time. We had stayed in a hotel, had drinks and good food for the night, and then we kind of toured the park. You see elk, deer, all the normal stuff you see. So that was really the highlight of it. And then we drove back to Edmonton. This is our California team, I should say. Right before demobilization, just us.
Out in the sky.
So lessons and key differences. This is the big thing is to. So as you can tell,
Species tracking.
I was weird. I didn't know what poutine was. So there's different versions of poutine too, but basically it's French fries, soggy French fries with brown gravy on the top and some kind of other mixture.
Cheese curds.
Cherries and cheese curds, yes. Absolutely disgusting. Who's ever eaten ketchup flavored potato chips?
There's a
All dressed.
Terrible too. So this is what their local dispatch center brought our team. They brought us big things of Canadian food. Most of it was normal, but this is the weird stuff that I thought was valuable for you guys to see. The beer was also wasn't that great either, so say that. So yeah, I think we have time for questions, Chief.